Automatic and we burst and squeeze and make 9/11 each emergency. Urgency, amber to red like the turn and leave. Oh, please let the hurt cease. Don't let apathy police the populace. We will march across those stereotypes that were marked for us. The answer's obvious. We twist the consonants and change the sword to words and lift continents.
Put down the African Kool-Aid. Rise, oh America, rise. Realize your lineage, your sovereignty. On the program with us, Annie Machon. Real quick, if you hadn't had enough of Jack Blood today, I will be sitting in for a pretty big radio talk show tonight at 6 o'clock Central Time, so in just about an hour. Not that I don't want you listening to Casper Leach and Karen Katowski and all the great people here at American Freedom Radio, but if you want some more Jack Blood, go to Survive2, the numeral 2, survive2thrive.net, and you'll catch me there from 6 to 7 p.m. Also tomorrow, a new installation of Blood and Guts with my good friend Maria Heller. And then Larry Pratt will join us from Gun Owners of America on the program tomorrow on Deadline Live. Now, Annie, my listeners will tar and feather me if I do not ask you, what has happened to your former mate, David Shaler? I had him on the program about a year ago, and he was adamant in reporting that he was the Son of God, that he was indeed the incarnation of Jesus and many others. Now we read that he is going around as Dolores Kane, dressing up in women's clothes. Not that I'm going to judge anybody. Honestly, I think everybody has a right to do what they want. Certainly that guy has given enough of his life to people. But people want to know, I guess maybe your perspective, what happened to him? What is your analysis?
Well, it's difficult to say. I mean, we separated 3 years ago, and I don't have contact with him now. But my view would be that, a lot of it comes from the immense pressure he went under and stress for many, many years. I mean, from the whistleblowing through to trying just to get the book published took about 7-8 years. And, of course, he was victimized by quite a large part of society in the UK. If you're a whistleblower from the intelligence agencies, you're taking on the establishment.
Yeah.
So you're called a traitor by large swathes of society and by the media, and there's a lot of government spin against you, and they attack your character. And yet, on the other side, you get a sort of hero worshipped by people who support what you're doing and think what you're doing is important.
Yeah.
So there's this sort of inherent tension. And then, of course, you feel very isolated. You don't know if you can trust your friends because some of them end up betraying you. And also, it becomes virtually impossible to earn a decent living. You have to give up your whole way of life, your whole job, everything. So all those sort of tensions were very, very difficult to combat. And I think, in a way, it's a sort of escape from having to be David Shaler and live with what happened to him. I don't know. I really don't want to comment too much further because I know, I think he sort of found some sort of contentment in his new life. But, I just feel really, really sad about what's happened.
You understand why I have to ask because, we had him on the show and propped him up and used his information in order to help make some very important points, and I still think that information is extremely valuable. He ended up in a lot of films, and a lot of people, attached themselves to him. Maybe he didn't ask for that, but they were betting on him to kind of ride this through. Obviously, you came out of it okay, so many other whistleblowers have come out of it okay. It is a very stressful situation, I'm sure. But it just almost defies imagination. Really, it does. I have to say that.
Yeah. I mean, they did go for him big time. It was very much a case of using a sledgehammer to crack a walnut. I mean, they really didn't like him because he just knew way too much. Most whistleblowers come and go. They have one big thing, they say it, there's a big media hoo-ha, and then that's it. Now with him, he just kept coming back and fighting to get at the truth and to get an inquiry into the crimes he was reporting, and wouldn't go away. And they became very spiteful towards him, I think.
Yeah.
And it just, I don't know, it was very, very difficult. I mean, I was never the prime target. He was.
Yeah.
He really, was the one that annoyed them. So I suppose it was slightly easier for me, although I was with him every step of the way. So, yes, of course, I understand why people are concerned. And
there's no way that could have been a planned ahead in order to discredit this information and throw the baby out with the bathwater or...
Well, this is the tragedy, of course. I mean, people say, oh, well, he must have been sent into the truth movement and to discredit it and everything. But the tragedy is, of course, that by taking his current positions, he has discredited everything he's ever fought for, not just his, involvement in trying to get the truth out about 9/11, but, people who are still rotting in prison wrongfully, innocent people that he helped to try and get out by his whistleblowing, people who died needlessly in Libya who want answers about the Gaddafi plot. All of that now can be dismissed by the British establishment as well. It was a fantasy. We always dismissed what Shayla said, and now he's proven himself to be, mad or whatever. That's what they will say. So he's offered them a gift, and it's a tragedy not just for him, but also for all these other people who still cry out for justice. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, we've seen whistleblowers really attacked and killed here as well. I don't think, unless people go through it, Annie, I don't think they understand the kind of pressure you're talking about. I've been in the middle of a couple of big news stories, and we're locking our doors, and we have terrible things happening to scare my family, and it is a lot of pressure. I can't imagine being in his shoes. But again, I'm not here to judge anybody. I just thought maybe you would have some insight into that, and I feel like it is my duty to ask the questions. Before we,
no, of course. I think it's a genuine situation he's found himself in. He hasn't done something deliberately to try and embarrass or discredit anyone, including himself. I think he genuinely believes what he's saying. I
think the other theory out there was he was maybe making this up to protect himself, which I guess in a way makes sense.
I'm not in contact with him now, but I was in contact with him up until last year, and when I saw him, he just seemed, yes, it might be a subconscious protective thing, but I don't think it was conscious.
Kind of like how David Icke talks a lot about the lizard people, maybe. I don't know. Okay.
I know. It's just really, I just feel really sad for the whole thing and the way it shook out and everything. He got so vilified by so many people over for so many years, and yet he tried to do something very brave and very courageous, and I salute him for that. We
do have listeners still in the UK and who might be able to go to any events you're doing. If there's anything you want to promote or plug or anything like that, here's the time to do it.
Well, I'm actually outside the UK. I got out. I fled to Germany to escape being
I wasn't going to say that, but since you volunteered it.
Yeah. So nothing lined up in the UK yet.
People can keep track of you at AnnieMachon.com. They can Google you, that link again, at American Freedom Radio. I always really enjoy talking to you. You're a great activist. We need more people like you, obviously, and I always love having you on the show, Annie. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. It's been a real pleasure.
All right, folks, that wraps up another edition of Deadline Live. We will be back tomorrow, as I said, with more news and information you're not supposed to know about. Again, I will be on in 1 hour at Survive2, the letter 2, thrive.net. And Larry Pratt will join us tomorrow, and the John Bell interview that we did earlier today will air on Thursday. Of course, he is the singer of Widespread Panic. A very interesting interview we did with him. I hope you'll tune into that. Stay with us at AmericanFreedomRadio.com. I'll see you next time. Until then, I'm Jack Blood saying, be bold, and mighty forces will come to your aid.